Good afternoon, everyone. 5 o'clock straight up on a Friday edition of On Cue. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We got about 60 plus minutes to play with on this Friday edition, the 19th of September 2025, as we like to call it, a What the Frig Friday, which basically means what the frig made you say what the frig in the world of sports. And by the way, we will not be censored. I would just let you know right off the bat, we will not. As always, get social with us as well at Rich Q on X and IG, and of course TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. You can check out the YouTube channel as well. And I will say this many times today, and also going forward, we certainly want to say a special shout out, if you will, and hello, a little bienvenido to our friends tuning in on channel 82 in Bermuda. How about that? The gorgeous, lovely people of Bermuda checking us out on this What the Frig Football Friday edition of On Cue. And they're probably like, what is it? What the frig? Well, we're going to walk you through it. Like I said, did anything in the world of sports make you say, what the frig? And I'm telling you, there were a lot of storylines this weekend in sports. Busy show. John Bueller from Fansided in a couple moments. Lloyd Vance in his regular spot. You as well out there. Week 3 is among us in the NFL. A little bit of drama last night between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Everyone's kind of going batty over the kneel down / fumble going into the half by Josh Allen of the Bills. And the game, ultimately, the Buffalo Bills won. Listen, Miami Dolphins, they've got issues. That's a 31-21 game. Yeah, they covered the line. Hey, congratulations. That's great. No moral victories in the NFL. And it's just funny. All you're hearing now come out are players have been missing, meetings and late for practices and meetings. And it was pretty much glossed over when they were successful. Well, one really was that. I mean, they're 0-3 right now. They lose 31-21. Tua, again, he didn't even crack 150 yards. He didn't crack 150 yards. So we talk about these coaches on the hot seat, and McDaniel is certainly one of them. And I got some news for Giant fans, too, that we'll get into in a moment. But this team stinks to Miami Dolphins since Mike McDaniel took over. They're 3-14 against teams that entered the game with winning streaks compared to 25-12 against teams entering the game 500 or worse. They've lost 8 straight regular season games against teams that entered with winning records. They can't beat anyone. They can't beat anyone, period. And that's the problem. And you also, again, want to put it on the head coach and the players because they're just not good enough. They're not good enough. McDaniel is on the hot seat big time. And I'll tell you something else. The New York Giants play Kansas City on Sunday night. Andrew Thomas might be back on that offensive line and making his season debut. And listen, I don't know if it's going to save the Giants. Even if the Giants were to win on Sunday, and I think they're a live dog, 6.5 point underdogs in that game. Everyone's saying this is the get right game for Kansas City. Yeah, we'll see. Point being is a couple of things are going to come out of this. If the Giants spit the bit and get blown out 35-10, Russell Wilson's time with the Giants is done. They're going to go to Jackson Dart. Forget about that Saint game that I bookmarked. It's going to be against the Chargers. Second point of emphasis here is this. Brian Daboll might get fired, as well as defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, and then I would imagine they would jettison in Mike Kafka to be the head coach. Now, we rarely talk about midseason firings because they are rare in the NFL. They are very, very rare in the NFL, but it's getting to a point now where when you have players start to gripe, when you have players that are frustrated, when you have, a Pro Bowl caliber All-Pro in Dexter Lawrence, who granted has been banged up, not happy, tired of the losing, that's a trickle-down effect that bleeds into the locker room and it bleeds into the field, and that's where you basically have zero type of sustained success. And I'm telling you, right now with some of these teams, 0-2, potentially 0-3, is a death sentence. It really is. It is a death sentence in the NFL. I don't care who the Dolphins have coming up. I really don't. The Browns are pretty much done. The Titans pretty much done. But you knew that because the Titans have a rookie quarterback. The Giants are pretty much done. The Jets are going to be a Buccaneers loss away from being done. Carolina, a team I thought was going to surprise, they got to win or they're going to be done as well. They're 0-2, staring down the barrel of an 0-3 start. I mean, there's pressure on these 0-2 teams to just basically try to get out of October or try to get into October unscathed, get through the month of September. And then I think you have some litmus test games this weekend. I really do. The Commanders, we're going to see what that offense looks like with Marcus Mariota with no Jaden Daniels against the Raiders. And that line has dropped more. Now you get 2.5. You get the hook. Washington at home. Broncos on the road against the Chargers. This is a litmus test game for Denver, and I also believe for the Chargers. That's a nice matchup. Cardinals, 49ers, that is a really nice matchup of 2-0 teams, right? We talk about these litmus tests, and then you get Monday Night Football, the Lions, and the Ravens. So not only is it put up or shut up time for some of these teams in the NFL, but there are coaches that are basically hanging by a thread. They are hanging by a thread. McDaniel didn't help himself out last night. There's no moral victories in the NFL. If the Giants lose 35-10, Daboll hasn't helped his cause. There's already some of these reports floating around that Aaron Rodgers felt maybe now he should have waited a little longer because he's frustrated already in Pittsburgh. They're not going to have the best of seasons. Mike Tomlin, I believe, heading into the season was on the hot seat, whether you guys want to believe it or not. And here's another thing. You get rid of McDaniel Miami, that ownership group always wants to make a splash and bring in the big name. So you got to see how it plays out with Tomlin in Pittsburgh. You've got Stefanski, Barry, these guys in Cleveland. Daboll, right? Bowen, Shane in New York. There's some guys that are going to last the first season. Ben Johnson, that's a different animal. We'll talk a little more about that in a couple moments. But again, we're just cranking up a couple minutes past the 5 o'clock hour, a Football Friday edition of On Cue. We're powered by our wonderful friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea, fresh roasted coffee, Jersey Shore Breaks, who, oh, by the way, as they enter their second season in the TBL, they have a tryout tomorrow, 9-1, St. Rose's High School. From what I'm hearing, about 50 to 60 players coming out, so it should be a really good turnout. And then, as I mentioned, too, get social with us at Rich Q on X, TikTok Rich Q on the mic, and of course on IG at Rich Q. A lot of comments coming in. We will start to read them off. We're going to punch up our good friend John Bueller in a moment. Madman, who's always impatient, says, let's go. Also says a casual corporate Friday. That's not necessarily the case. Oh, how about this? Michael Reed chiming in first with the here we go. We like that. Johnny on the spot. Maybe he thought I was going to lead off with a little Rutgers football. Anticipation of 0-3 is worse than 0-3 itself. Well, listen, if you're going to say it or you're going to actually write it down in lipstick on the toilet seat like Steven Seagal did, that's one thing. If you're going to say it in a Steven Seagal voice, that's another thing. We'll take it. We'll take it, though. Scott chimes in. Browns will rise again when they play Sanders. Q, I have no proof of this, but I like Lennon. I'm a dreamer. Well, hey, listen, I mean, we all are. We have no idea what Cleveland's going to do. We really don't. And like I said, it's a critical time for some of these franchises. It really is, because you want to believe that some of these teams have something to build upon. You want to believe that some of these teams, I use the expression, can hang their hat on something. You hang your hat on something, you have a little confidence, you have a little juice, you feel good about things going forward. Some teams believe they already have the quarterback in the room. Other teams are going to find out the hard way. That's just how it is. It's just how it is in the world of sports. So we had him in the Q room, and with that, we'll transition him over. I don't know if it's a little pollen cough on a Friday, but our good friend John Bueller from Fansided joining us in his weekly spot as always. What's going on, my friend? How are you?
Doing pretty good, Rich. Still celebrating the Falcons' big win over Minnesota. JJ McCarthy was absolute crap. I could not have been happier.
Well, listen, you got rid of one of my favorite kickers, man. I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, I felt bad about that, but Koo hasn't been the same player since making that field goal to beat the Saints around this time last year. I know he was a star at Georgia Southern, kind of a hometown kind of guy, but Parker Ramos from down the road for me at Peachtree City, and he made all five kicks. I'm getting so tired with like the Falcons just being beholden to what somebody did. I want to know what they're going to do now,
Yeah.
and because like what somebody did, that's how you go 7-10 every year.
Hey, listen, the running back's a hell of a player. I mean, just
Yeah.
keep feeding him the football. But that was a nice win, and you're right. Minnesota kind of ugly effort. McCarthy banged up. He's going to be out a couple weeks. The Commanders I mentioned to start, John. No Jaden Daniels. Marcus Mariota is going to be under center against the Raiders. That line has moved, and rightfully so. Oh, by the way, the Dallas line moved. I'll get to that in a moment. But I'm hoping that the Commanders, because I have them, I picked them to come out of the NFC, kind of weather that storm over the next couple weeks. I think Mariota is a serviceable quarterback. I guess the question really is not even this week, but going forward, the way Jaden Daniels plays, it almost reminds us of, the Cam Newtons of the world where he's going to deliver the hit, he's going to take a hit, but he's also going to get banged up. And now you start to call into question maybe is this guy going to be injury prone? Does he need to change his style? I'll kind of ask you, it's kind of an open ended question, really. I mean, is it just unfortunate, banged up, still a young quarterback? He'll figure it out, or this might be the norm for Jaden Daniels, missing a couple games here and there every season.
I think it's kind of the nature of how he plays. I want to see him play for as long as he can. I think that he has the potential to be the best quarterback of his draft class. Through 1 year, he has been the best, but he does play for one of the most snake bitten franchises in the NFL. I know they've changed their name, their uniforms and stuff, but
Sure.
they are who they are.
Correct. That's a good point.
And I want to see him out there and have success. I'm not rooting for Marcus Mariota. I root for pretty much apocalypse over Marcus Mariota. I have nothing but negative things to say about that guy.
Well, give him, hey, listen, he's hung around the NFL for a long time, right? And by all accounts, he's kind of like that pros pro. It'll be a tough test. No Daniel, so the offense might be somewhat limited. And then you have the news coming down with Burrow going to be out pretty much the entire season. You already talked about McCarthy with the Vikings, so give us a little Jake from State Farm Brownie against Carson Wentz, who they're raving about in Minnesota. Again, the Vikings are laying at 2.5 at home in this one. Joe Burrow, now you got to start to have the conversation, though. He's an injury prone quarterback. Look, Cincinnati hasn't really helped him out with their offensive
No,
line over the last several years, but the NFL's better when Joe Burrow is under center, healthy for Cincinnati. And it's unfortunate because it does change the complexion now of the MVP race because of
100%.
really guys like Justin Herbert and Jordan Love pretty much have left Joe Burrow. So again, is Cincinnati, can they ride it out and still be a competitive team and maybe fight for a wild card with this latest injury news?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to catch Baltimore in division at this point. I think they're certainly a better team than Pittsburgh. I really like Jake Browning. I think this is a guy that people have slept on because he's kind of just small and diminutive. The Bengals are going to smoke the Vikings this weekend because he hates the Vikings because they cut him. So that's keep that in mind. But as far as what the Bengals' overall viability is going to be, like you're looking at a team that can win maybe 10, 11 games, get the sixth
Yeah.
seed, probably go one and done in the AFC playoff picture because I just don't see them being able to match Baltimore, Buffalo, or I guess now the Chargers.
Yeah. It's funny because all week the conversation, well, several conversations in the world, right? I mean, it seems as though it's going, hey, let's not have the voice of silence, right? Freedom of speech, and then you get, oh, the tush push. Let's go with the latter, the tush push. I mean, I'm over it. Like at this point, if they go 99 yards of all fanny pushes, so be it. Like figure out a way to stop them. I don't know last night if Michaels was throwing a little shot and shade to the Philadelphia Eagles when he's talking about, some teams are fun to watch and some teams are just pretty much boring. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but they have the Rams. Both teams come in 2-0. Eagles laying 3.5 at home. They really haven't utilized Barkley as much. Last year, he had that breakout game against the Rams. earlier in the season. And then obviously we saw what he did in the snow and Lincoln Financial failed in the divisional round in the playoffs. So let me ask you this first and foremost. Do you see anything that would be alarming when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles and their offense? Because it really hasn't been as explosive like we've seen in seasons past. Granted, it's only 2 weeks into the season. That's my first question for you.
So you said they got the Rams this week plus
Yeah.
-3 at home. I'll still take probably Philadelphia there. I'm firmly of the belief this is the last year the Rams are going to be good. Like they're everything you've seen out of them leads me to believe that they're going to probably be looking for a quarterback here soon. Stafford's getting up there. His high school friend Clayton Kershaw just announced he's going to retire from baseball. But in terms of the Eagles here, this is the defending Super Bowl champions. This is a team that's really strong in the trenches on both sides of the ball. But there has been something where I'm like, I'm wondering if they have that extra gear offensively, like that we think that they might have. And I don't know, it's snagging the back of my brain here a little bit. I've kind of wondered, like, I don't know if we're going to get a repeat season out of Saquon Barkley. I just don't know if it's going to happen. Just because what he did last year was unbelievable. That'll get
Yeah.
him to the Hall of Fame. But, like, I don't know if he's built like Derrick Henry. Just like, I don't know if he has that in him.
Yeah, it's listen. Those are fair points. I don't believe he's going to carry the football as much. I'm still waiting for them to have that 25, 30 ish, consistency, that those point explosions over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks. And the Rams can get to the quarterback. Defensively, they're not a, they're a pretty good defensive team. And I tend to kind of agree with you. Their window is closing a little bit with Stafford. They're getting a little older. He's getting a little more banged up. But again, everyone now, there's reports coming out that the NFL, memo was sent out, really keep a keen eye on the tush push. Like, okay, on every call in the NFL, you can call a guy for holding and jumping off sides. You really can. Every single solitary play. With this, whether we want to sit there and debate or go back and forth that the guys can time it perfectly without jumping, or they're constantly jumping. If it's going to get called, it's going to get called. Like at this point, if you can't stop it, you can't stop it. I don't know what more teams and certain fan bases want, because they're not going to get rid of it. I don't foresee them getting rid of it.
The only way they'd get rid of it is if some sort of detrimental injury happens to somebody along the defensive line. And in that case, the NFL is going to be like, okay, this is a safety issue. The one thing that I do kind of find peculiar about the tush push is with everybody kind of getting that jump together, it almost feels like everybody on the offensive lines, like in the neutral zone, like before the ball is even snapped. And again, I'm kind of wondering though, like if they, maybe that's the reason that eventually goes away. But again, like, you got to figure out a way to stop it. How about stop having the Eagles be 4th and 1 or goal line to go? Like,
That's
just
a fair
stop them.
point.
You figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, that is a fair point. We talked a little bit about last night. McDaniel certainly on the hot seat. I know they have winnable games to Miami Dolphins. I think I'm going to push up the timeline for Jackson Dart. I think the Giants are a live dog in this game. I really do. The line's sitting at 6.5. I'm not saying Russell Wilson's going to go out and put up those type of numbers, but we have to be fair. From a football standpoint, Kansas City's secondary is very suspect, right? And they've had they can't get to the quarterback like in years past. Now he's not a fleet of foot, but you look at Robinson, you look at Neighbors, you got a veteran Slayton, the tight end Johnson, Scatterboot, Tracy, running back by committee. It's their home opener. They have to feel a little better offensively. Now, what I saw defensively late, especially in overtime and in regulation in that game against the Dallas Cowboys, just kept me up for a couple of nights. Hence, me believing the head coach and the defensive coordinator are going to be on the hot seat if they don't win this game. I mean, can you envision a scenario where they lose it 34-31 on another last second field goal? Because the Giants always get beat on last second field goals, long ones, by the way. I mean, I read somewhere over the last 25 years, there's been one team that's been beaten 4 times on field goals, I think 57 or more yards, and the Giants 4 times. I mean, it's crazy. Or if they win this game, does this kind of give a little bit of wiggle room for Brian Daboll, Bowen, Kafka, Joe Shane, and okay, then all of a sudden we kind of come back down a little bit and say they're not on the hot seat. They got their first win of the season and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
This is like the Giants season almost kind of sort of here in a way. Like it's the home opener. You've got like the Chiefs coming in. The Chiefs look vulnerable. Chiefs are not gonna the Arrowhead Invitational. That's not happening this year. I do think as like a live dog, yeah, I think that's interesting. I think the other big thing here is like, look, this is like Russell Wilson's career on the line here. If he can't do it, it's over for him, and he needs to go. Probably not into politics, or just go away. Probably would be the preferred option here. But I think it really comes down to how the Giants look in this game. If they seem to be playing with cohesion and everything like that, regardless of what the final score is. Maybe you have I'm trying to think what the word is, like maybe there's a little more life to this, but
Yeah,
like you don't want to lose the plot here. I think Russell Wilson's going to be the guy when Dart's right there. You got to
yeah,
hang on the straight and narrow.
yep,
Got to
yep.
keep the narrative in your favor a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the Cowboys game here show that the Giants have heart and they're not going to be they're not going to be an easy out, which I think is good versus a team of quality like the Chiefs.
No, they're not. And the other thing we learned is that we're going to get a 70-yard field goal. I mean, these kickers now, they can boom them from all over the place. I mean, you have to just know. I mean, think about it. I'm kicking from my side of the 40. Um, just defensively, it just made me sick to my stomach. But yeah, to your point, I just think if they win, then Dable gets he gets a reprieve for a week or two. If Wilson struggles and they win, now your opportunity is look, hey, appreciate it. We won a game. Let's see what the kid has. And people forget they were, um, I think they went 5-1, and then they dropped 3 or 4, maybe 4-1, dropped 3 or 4 when Coughlin decided they were 5-4 to bench Warner and go to Eli. And Eli lost that year 6, 7 straight, and then they finally beat the Dallas Cowboys to close out the regular season. Tiki Barber scored from 7 yards out late, and they won the game. So, I know it's apples and oranges, but we've seen this before. The veteran, potential Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, now all of a sudden kind of taking a back seat. So pressure there for the Giants. How about this game? The Cardinals and the 49ers, and it does appear, I'm just trying to get the latest. Um, what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, especially with the line, Purdy might go. I haven't seen that he's ruled out, but be that as it may, you get that early 2-0 battle in what I think is going to be a pretty compelling division.
Oh yeah, you and I were both very high on Arizona entering this season. This is kind of where like they've been building towards this, and where it was with San Francisco, it's like, okay, how much longer are they going to keep rolling out the same old thing? And let me put it this way with the 49ers. This is the year they got to make it happen, because if they don't make it happen this year, all that money that they're paying Brock Purdy kicks in, and they're not going to be able to surround him with stuff. Maybe he could overcome some of the stuff because they're paying him for that, but like plus another year older with Christian McCaffrey, like the urgency is on the 49ers to get it done. Whereas I think like the Cardinals, you're looking at a team where like, okay, they're ascending right now. And I will say though, if Arizona gets to 3-0 with this win, I mean, that this is kind of starting to feel, if it happens, it feels like the 21 season where they won the division. It looked really, really good.
Hayden chimes in Q, loving the Dolphins talk to open up the show. I would bench the quarterback before I fire the head coach. That is a big nut you're dealing with there with that contract with Tua. I mean, you talk about Purdy being injured, right? The inconsistencies. Then you look at Tua. I mean, Purdy's a better quarterback than Tua, but that is that's an albatross of a contract, right? If you're Miami, I mean, you talk about the definition of buyer's remorse. They certainly have to have buyer's remorse because he's regressed. He looks horrible.
This is why like the Dolphins are a dead franchise for as long as he's there. Even more so than McDaniel. I would actually probably say I would keep McDaniel over Tua at this point, even though I think McDaniel's kind of running out of favor there. And we know that Stephen Ross is just going to be meddling and just fire him and try to hire Mike Tomlin. It's not going to work. They just got to get somebody else. I mean, they could have had Justin Herbert. Not to say that he would have been any
Right.
different in this situation here. I don't necessarily know what the draft class coming down the pipeline is going to be. I thought Klubnik would be good, but he's terrible. So I don't know. Just the whole two of it all. Like he looked pitiful in prime time against a divisional opponent where you should play faster. You should know what Sean McDermott's trying to do defensively. You've been playing him forever since you came out.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, listen again. Agree. I mean, but we always talk about what coaching, coaching, coaching in the NFL. I mean, that's just the bottom line. If the coaching's not there, I don't care who you have on the roster. And some of these coaches are just absolutely, they're horrible. Lions and the Ravens Monday night. I think that's, to me, it's just going to be an entertaining game where you kind of sit back, and it might be one of these wild, high scoring games. The Lions kind of reminded people, hey, we're still the Lions putting up 52 against the Bears. I'm wondering, do you think that was Dan Campbell, or do you believe or no, that was definitely Dan Campbell saying, you know what, we're going to run it up on Ben Johnson?
I love that. Ben Johnson, you're a fool. Why the heck did you go to Chicago? Why would you do this? I told you this for years. Don't take this job because Caleb Williams is a head case. And this is going together like oil and water in just the most unspectacular fashion. And you know what? I think there was also like Dan Campbell's brought the Lions that were just absolute dreck forever, but he's like the stabilizing force. Again, he had to reload at both coordinators with losing Johnson and Glenn. And everyone's like out there like, oh, he's just a meathead. Jared Goff's the guy that the Rams bailed on.
Yeah.
And I think this was a statement within the division. It's like, you know what? We're still really good. We're still going to make the playoffs. And I know Green Bay is probably the toast of the division right now, but we're still here. And I thought that was a great way to respond for the Lions week 2.
Let me switch gears before I let you get out of here, because I know you're a baseball guy like I am. Clayton Kershaw. I've been so critical of Kershaw over the years, right? Because I
Yeah.
wanted to see the playoffs. Like, talk to me when the playoffs rolled around. Obviously, he squashed that notion and kind of hammered that narrative a couple seasons ago. Look, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. He's been a class act. The guy's pitched hurt. You're talking 18 seasons in Dodger blue. Now, right away, everyone, before he's officially retired, want to know, hey, is he the greatest Dodger ever? And it's funny because part of me is almost like, well, potentially you might see that in a guy who's pitching and swinging the bat in Otani, but I also harken back. Let's not dismiss some of the all-time greats. Like, if you're talking pitcher, I mean, Sandy Koufax, his
Yeah.
career was cut short,
Yeah.
right? And his numbers were staggering. And in the era that he did it, I mean, Koufax's ERA was 2.76. His last season, when he went 27-9, his ERA was under 1.8. Plus, throwing the bat, all the complete games. You look at the WAR, you look at the strikeouts, you look at the 20-game winner. So when you look at a guy like Clayton Kershaw, do you look at Hall of Fame pitcher, workhorse, longevity, but are you ready to say, hey, greatest Dodger ever?
I don't even think he belongs on Mount Rushmore. Like, to be honest with you, I kind of feel that, like, again, workhorse, ultimate Dodger, just basically wore the cap with pride, was everything that like you would hope for with this. But like, again, just not clutch at all in the postseason. Phenomenal with a really good regular season team. Um, I think like there's pitchers out there. You mentioned Koufax, where it's almost mythical. I know Kershaw had seasons equivalent to what Fernando Valenzuela and Oral Hershiser did at their peak.
Sure.
I think Drysdale had pretty good numbers. Don Sutton put up a lot of numbers there too in Dodger blue, and I don't know, Jackie Robinson played for the Dodgers. I think he's probably the greatest guy in their franchise's history.
Yeah, had Duke's my guy right behind me, the
Dukes,
Duke of Paducah, Duke
yeah.
Snyder, right? Gil
Mhm.
Hodges. I mean, I think Kershaw is a Hall of Fame pitcher, but pardon me, when you start to really look at the numbers, and I know the game has changed, Koufax to me for his era, 26-5, 19-5, 26, pardon me, 26-8, 27-9. Cy Young, 3 out of 4 years, and he finished third the one year he didn't win it. I mean, it's remarkable. And oh, by the way, he retired when he was 30 years old.
Yeah, I know it's amazing. They didn't have his elbow is still probably purple at this point. But it's interesting with Kershaw. You group him in there with like Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, like the same pitchers of like the same generation.
Yep.
I will say though, while I'll always probably value the other two over Kershaw more, is just I think they went to tougher situations to win. Like the Tigers were just crap throughout my childhood, and then Verlander figured that out. I mean, what were the Diamondbacks? God, what were the Nationals like?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
the Dodgers, like, yeah, you had some pockets there where the Giants were really good, but like the Padres haven't until recently figured it out.
Yep.
The Diamondbacks had like one really good year, and then the Rockies are just a disaster.
That's unbelievable. All right, brother. I know I'm a little tight before I let you get out of here. What you got cooking this weekend? A lot of college football. I know you don't really have to worry too much. No offense to your Atlanta Braves, but you got a
Yeah.
lot of college football.
Yeah, Georgia's on a bye, so I get to rest before the huge Alabama game coming up here. You got Miami and Florida, big one out there in the Big 12 for early bragging rights between Utah and Texas Tech. Whoever wins that game might be the team that wins that league and makes the playoff. And then you got Indiana, Illinois. That's going to be a very important game there in the Big 10. You've also got Michigan, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Auburn, revenge game for Jackson Arnold potentially. We'll see what happens. It would be really cool to see what John Mateer can do at OU. Maybe he's the Heisman runner coming over from Washington State. But yeah, an exciting college football weekend where I don't have to sweat it out. So that's perfect for me.
Yeah, hey, that's the best thing. If you don't have to sweat it out, that's always that's a good thing. You never have to worry about sitting there sweating it out, right? I mean, because it gets a little dicey, as we like to say, so to speak. So, all right, brother. Again, everyone, don't forget follow John on social media. Does a great job at Fansided at Bueller 118 lead writer. He's got all his podcasts going. He's got the YouTube channel with his cohorts as well. Puts out really great, fantastic content, and always kind enough to join us on a Football Friday edition of On Cue. Always appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. See you next week.
All right, you got it. There you have it. Great stuff. Kevin C chimes in. Always enjoyed John's segment. I wish you guys would have dived in a little more college football Q, but enjoyed the Koufax conversation. Kevin, appreciate that. Yeah, next week we'll get into a little more because I know he's well rounded. He's well rounded, so we wanted to talk a little baseball. Mel, who is a diehard Dodgers fan, blasphemy, Q, blasphemy. Absolutely not. Kershaw is a Hall of Famer. He's a wonderful pitcher, but let's be honest, he's nowhere near Sandy Koufax. Mel's been a Dodger fan, I think, since '73. So he goes way, 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 way back, right? Way, way, way back. What does Rizza Madman? Who are the three Dodgers who won Rookie of the Year in three consecutive seasons? I thought they had like four or five. I thought they had like four or five, right? Piazza, Rookie of the Year. Raul Mondesi, right? Nomo, I think, was a Rookie of the Year, right? They had a run where they had like three or four straight seasons. I don't know. Was I don't know if Eric Harris. Remember Eric Harris? Remember him? Eric Harris. So if you go back, what was that 91, 90, 92, 93? What Piazza 93? I mean, look, Fernand. If you're talking the 80s, the pitcher that, well, actually, if you go back 4 years, 79, 80, 81, Steve Howe, Fernando Mania, and then Steve Sachs, who couldn't get the ball over to first. So, you've got, again, I think it was 3 or 4 years in a row. They've always had great rookie of the years, right? B chimes in. Q, did you see that Carson Wentz going to be the first player ever to start for six different teams in six consecutive seasons? You called it years ago, journeyman quarterback. Yes, he is definitely a journeyman quarterback. That hasn't changed. I mean, did anyone think anything otherwise with Carson Wentz? But I want to get back to Madman's question because I know 79 Sutcliffe, Steve Howe was a first round pick in 79. So I'd have to double check if he played or appeared in qualified games. But definitely Venezuela and Steve Sachs. And then I know Piazza, and then I'm pretty sure Mondesi or Nomo. So you'd have to double check. They've had a nice little run. They had a nice little run of rookie of the years. The Dodgers are a great, great franchise. And we talk about the Yankees, but the Dodgers are the Dodgers, Dodgers blue. I mean, the Dodgers are an all-time great franchise. Now, am I about to stick him top 10? I mean, I look at Sutton, right? Duke, the Duke of Paducah, Duke Snyder, Campanella, Roy Campanella, Don Drysdale, I mean, was a phenomenal pitcher. Pee Wee Reese, Fernando Mania, Fernando Venezuela. I mean, what he did when he burst onto the scene, right? El Toro. He's one of the most beloved Dodgers to this day. Koufax. I look at Koufax, Jackie Robinson, 1 and 2. Kershaw is probably a top 10. Seriously, yeah, he's probably. He's probably. So you're talking about a pitcher that's led the league in ERA in what 4 or 5 different seasons. He's won it 3 times. When we're talking about what was it, Cy Young, MVP honors in 2014, went 21-3. Yeah, I actually have to walk that back. Kershaw, I would say, is definitely a top 10 Dodger. Yeah. Before you Google, you name two. I'm not Googling friggin' anything. What are you talking about? I didn't Google anything. I'm doing the interview with John, and I'm giving you great stats on Dodger Blue. Steve Howe. If Sutcliffe was 79 and Steve Howe was drafted in 80, that's Steve Howe, slithering Steve Sachs in 82, and then Fernando in 81, 79, 80, 81, 82. And then I'm telling you, I'm not here in my hands, officer, on the steering wheel. There's no Googling. Um, Nomo, Piazza. I want to see. I want to say Mondesi, Raul Mondesi, and then I bet you too. If you go back, you probably saw that in the mid 2000s. So I gave you four. You wanted three. I just gave you four on a Friday. Piazza, Mondesi, Caros. There you go. All right, 92. Eric. So wait, it was Eric Caros. Okay. So all right. Well, there you go. So we're all right. See, no harm, no foul. Kershaw's a legend. Playoff woes kill his Mount Rushmore bid. I think if we're being fair, yeah, that's before my time. I was referencing to 90s. Get the hell out of here. Go put the baseball in your wheel spike. Consecutive being the key. I'm pretty sure Caros, Mondesi, Piazza. I th- I thought there was another one in there. Yeah, Koufax's numbers. Let me give you Clayton Kershaw's numbers. You guys tell me what you think. I used to argue with Steve Gardner from USA Today regarding the credentials of one Clayton Kershaw because, as Madman pointed out, his postseason record. You cut your bones in the postseason. It's different in football, right? We're tagging you with the wins and losses. Obviously, pitchers get the wins and losses, but the playoffs are where they cut their teeth. Yeah, I mean, he's just aside from a couple years ago, 13-13. He's a 500 pitcher in the playoffs. 6-5 in the NLDS, World Series 3-2, NLCS 7 Series 3-6 with a 4.34 ERA. And some pitchers just can't get it done in the postseason. They just can't. And other pitchers, like the Schillings, like the Pettits, like the Martinez, like the Johnsons, they get it done. The Verlanders, they get it done. I think that's where you're measured, to be quite honest with you. All right, 540. We'll see if we can track down Lloyd Vance. A lot of comments coming in. Week 3, NFL. What's your best play this weekend? Got some updates with the Giants, as I mentioned, Dayball. Some, I guess you can say, stories coming out right now with the Dolphins and McDaniel. We want to dive into that. Also, I believe out of all these 0-2 teams this weekend, and we got a bunch of them, who gets the upset win? Cleveland over the Packers, Titans over Daniel Jones and the Colts, Giants over the Chiefs, Jets over the Bucks. So listen, 0-2, not a death sentence. It's not. But 0-3, yeah, you're starting to walk that green mile. Absolutely. 540, quick timeout. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up on a Friday edition of On Keel. All right, welcome back. 5:40 on a Friday edition of On Cue on this September 19th, 2025. By the way, Lloyd and I did a fantastic Back Your Play week 3. It's on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and it airs every Saturday and Sunday on WWON Channel 48 in New York. And I have to glance at my notes because I was told this is how you can watch it. Roku. So they're starting the show every Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 12. And by the way, they have a big weekend. They are broadcasting their very first college football game, University of Monroe University Mustangs, their home game. So congrats to my guy, Jonathan Rios, headed up New York 48. So you check out the Roku channel, you download that, and you put in uh, stream on a budget. You add it to your TV, your Roku device, click on channel 48, and you will see myself and Lloyd. Saturdays and Sundays, 11 to 12. Mel chimes in Q. How many Cy Young Award winners have the Dodgers had? Let's see. Kershaw won 3. Koufax won 3. Drysdale and Fernando won 1 apiece. What is that? 3, 6, 8. Hershiser, the Bulldog, won 1. Eric Gagne won 1. I think Mike Marshall won 1. Who is the reliever that had all those the name escapes me. He was really, really good, but he had a bunch of a lot of drama, right? Didn't he have a lot of drama? I thought the assault charges. Who is that reliever? He came out on Twitter, on X, and he said, "No, that's not me." You guys will. I'm going to say 11 or 12. I'm going to say 11 or 12. Who is the guy? Mel comments Trevor Bauer. There you go. Yeah, Trevor Bauer. So that's what. So you got Bauer, Gagne, Oral Hershiser in 88 was phenomenal. Fernando is a rookie, phenomenal. Drysdale in the 60s, Koufax 50s, 60s, phenomenal. And then Clayton Kershaw. It's a great franchise. It's a great franchise. Do I think they have the horses to win it all this year? In the NL, the Phillies are feast and famine. That's my only issue with the Philadelphia Phillies is if their offense goes south, they're going to be in trouble. And we've seen their offense in years past, come postseason time, kind of go south. They get shut down. They got shut down by the Mets. They got shut down by the Diamondbacks. Do I look at Milwaukee? Can Milwaukee beat the Phillies? Can they beat the Dodgers? I still think the Dodgers, they've got that pedigree. They've been there before. Now, granted, they're not your 100-win game record, right? 100-win team. Milwaukee won 94 games. The Phillies are sitting at 91 right now. The Dodgers are 86. So it'll be compelling. It'll be interesting to see exactly what happens in the NL and what teams are going to clash in the NLCS. Yankees making a little bit of a run in the AL East, 3 back of Toronto. I mean, I still look at those series that they lost to the Boston Red Sox. That really kind of hurt them. I really do. They poured it on a little bit. They won a couple games here and there. They took 2 out of 3 against Boston. They took 2 out of 3 against Minnesota. You got to take all 4 against Baltimore. Well, actually, you got 7. You got 1, 3, 4 plus 3. You got 7 games in total against Baltimore. And then you got Chicago. So if you have any hopes of catching or surpassing Toronto and not having to deal with that wild card, then you pretty much, if you're a Yankees fan right now, got to run the table. Got to run the table. Mike in Ohio chimes in. Q, I'm actually thinking Cleveland's going to cover the number and they might win this game outright if they can force some turnovers. Ooh, you are really being a optimistic with that game. Let's look at these games. We'll run through these games. Packers and the Browns. Green Bay's laying 7.5. Total is 41.5. Green Bay's 2-0. The Browns, as you guys already pointed out, waiting to see what's going to happen with Flacco. Is it going to be Gabriel? Is it going to be Sanders? They're at home. The Browns, Baltimore kind of turned it on, and we expected that. The Browns are in a tough spot right here because if they don't beat the Packers, I don't see them beating the Lions. They're 0-4, and that's maybe when they benched when they bench Flacco. I mean, it's coming. It really is. You're not going to keep trotting out a 40-year-old Joe Flacco. You're just not. It makes absolutely no sense. And he's taken some hits already in a couple games. But I just don't like the Browns in that spot. I think this is a game that Green Bay should easily cover that number. Indianapolis and the Titans. Titans desperate for a win. Daniel Jones has played remarkable football 2 weeks in. You get the hook in that one. 4.5. That troubles me a little bit because I know everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop when it comes to the Colts and Daniel Jones. I like the Colts to win the game. I think Tennessee actually keeps this game a little closer. So I'm actually going to go with Tennessee in the number. Give me Tennessee plus 4.5. Cincinnati and the Vikings, I'm not touching that number. The only play in that game, I might lay a little something on the under the total, 41.5. There's reports coming out already that Aaron Rodgers is ticked off. He's calling out wide receivers. Here's a name to watch. If it goes south for Pittsburgh, and they do decide to go in a different direction, and Miami fires McDaniel, Tomlin, Miami, that's a name to watch. I know we're only 2 weeks in. That game, look but don't touch. Eagles and the Rams, the Eagles are the most complete team in the NFC right now. I think Green Bay has a little more explosiveness than the Eagles, but because of the Eagles' track record, their body of work, and the fact that they're defending Super Bowl champs, they get the slight little nod over the Packers. If the Rams can get to Hurts and they can force some early turnovers, they're going to be able to keep themselves in this game. The Rams have a really good defense. They do. And they have some explosive playmakers, but you got to keep your quarterback upright. And for most parts, the offensive line of the Rams have done a good job with Matthew Stafford. He's not the same quarterback he once was, but in the snow last year, he threw for over 350 yards. He's 37 years of age, and he kind of gave you that, turn back the clock in week 2 against Tennessee. They pulled away. Their offense was a little stagnant in week 1 against Houston. They only scored 14. I don't know about this game. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. 3.5. Is this a trip up game for the Philadelphia Eagles? A lot of money coming in on the Eagles as well. And they've got Tampa Bay coming up, Denver coming up, the Giants 2 out of 3 after that, and then Minnesota. Look, if they beat the Rams and the Bucks, they can go on a little bit of a run here. They can go on a little bit. All right, let me see what other games we have here. Yeah, I might kind of steer clear of that game. Full transparency. Jets and the Bucks. I don't like the Jets offense. They've regressed. I think Baker Mayfield right now is a top 5 quarterback. I think he's playing at an elite level. That number's a little high, 6.5. But the problem is with the Jets, no Justin Fields. Taylor's going to get the start. And the Bucks just show that they're a really tough football team. And I don't know if Taylor being out there is going to spark the offense anymore. Look, he's a veteran. He's a pro's pro. He will throw the ball down the field. He's not going to be gun shy. Numbers a touch high. If this was under 5, maybe 5.5 even, I'd probably lean towards Tampa. I am inclined to play the over in this one, 43.5. Raiders and the Commanders. What are they doing? Like, what are the Raiders doing? You draft a player that you believe is a stud running back, and you're not giving him any touches. This kid has 30 carries in 2 games. Are you kidding me? You drafted him 6 overall. Like, he's got to get 20 plus touches a game, 25 plus touches. And there's reports coming out they're going to utilize him more. All right, hey, give the game plan away. Washington can be a tough team to run on at times, but you got a weapon. Use it, use him, use him. And Geno Smith looked horrible last week. I hope he comes back and plays a little better. Falcons and the Panthers not touching this game. Texans and the Jaguars. Jacksonville is a slight 1.5 point favorite at home. Texans are 0-2. Are they as bad as their 0-2 record? Are they as bad as that 0-2 record? I think CJ Stroud has taken a step back. So I had to place a $15 TD parlay bet to get 150 off Sunday ticket. CD Lamb to score first in Cowboys game. Nico Collins, 2 touchdowns, 15 to win 1K. It's not bad. Hold on a second. So you did the Sunday ticket. What did you do that with, DK? CD to score first. Okay, that's always the tough one. That's always the tough one, right? Nico Collins, 2 touchdowns total. All right. Interesting little nugget because the man brought it up. That Dallas and that Bears game, okay? That Dallas and that Bears game, if you check right now, the odds on that game. So the Bears were an opening favorite. Now the Cowboys flipped the script. They're 1.5 point favorites in this game. So your best case scenario is, Dallas gets a couple possessions, they get near the red zone, and maybe they decide, hey, third, and they double whoever, and then, they're probably going to double CD. But point being is, you get a little isolation, and then here we go. It's the first score, not anytime touchdown. And by the way, for those that have asked me, when you do look at these apps and it says anytime Josh Allen, that's different. Okay, anytime basically we're almost saying it's not a passing TD. Some people get confused by that. You're more inclined than just play that rushing touchdown, right? The anytime touchdown. That's a fallacy with some. I mean, just to let you know, and this reason that they pull these same game parlays, they make it so obscure and so hard for you to win. That's why, to man's point, that you're getting. I mean, I hope you hit it. $15, $16 bet, right? And you get the money off Sunday ticket, and now you're looking at 1K. So if you get CD to score first, you're halfway home, brother. You're halfway home. And that's all you need to be is in it. Now, the issue, though, with Nico, he's been a little quiet. What does he have? 1 touchdown? He's got 1 touchdown. Can he get 2? Can he get 2? G? I mean, I hope he does. Well, while we're listening to that ad, we have to get rid of that. But I hope he does. I hope he gets in the end zone 3 times just so you don't even have to panic. You just relax. You can throw on Jacksonville a little bit. You can throw in Jacksonville. Is Stroud going to press? Because that's the issue right here. Like, you have a really good wide receiver. You got to utilize him. But, man, I'm telling you, I hope that hits. Yes. Then you sweat. Yeah. You score first, get that out of the way. You score first, get out of the way, and then you perspire a little bit. And yes, he's not very good to start. He's not. All right, let's keep it rolling. Broncos and the Chargers, litmus test for the Denver Broncos in this one. Someone's about to get a timeout, by the way. Someone's a little ornery today, chewing on stuff they should not be chewing on and just giving me the look. Hey, cállate. Broncos and the Chargers. Broncos 1-1. Chargers 2-0. Chargers laying 2.5. Where's Bronco ball today? This is the litmus test for the Denver Broncos. You go on the road and you beat the Chargers. You basically validate it. You've justified what I said coming out of the AFC West. I'm starting to. I'm starting to think, my love affair with Bo Nix. I think maybe I jumped the gun on that one. I think I might have jumped the gun. I think it's going to be a fun game. And my guy Evan Ingram's out, by the way. He's not playing in this game. Man, Yes, I saw. Yes, I saw that. Semi must win for the Broncos. No such thing. No such thing. If you want to see where you're at, because you're going, okay, you got to make that trek after you're on the road and you were a BS call away from being 2-0. So you've got to wipe that away. You've got to wipe that away. Greenlaw, I think, is out. Ingram is out. So you lose a little depth from the linebacker spot. You lose my safety valve at the tight end. A little more pressure now falls on that offense. Denver's got to run the football. Like, run the football. And you got to get to Herbert. You got to get to the quarterback. You have to. You can't allow him to sit in the pocket and shred that secondary apart. Listen, he hasn't thrown a pick. That's the key. Now, you can get to him a little bit. He's been sacked 5 or 6 times in 2 games, but they can run the ball. If Denver can get them in those second, third, and long, I think you're going to be okay. I really do. And how about this? How about Keenan Allen coming back and turning back the clock? Right? I mean, playing really good football. He's developing. He's got that good chemistry with Justin Herbert. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I actually believe this might be one of your higher scoring games of the weekend. You got 52 last night, but I believe this game is going to be a little more of a high scoring game. It's a modest total of 45 and a half. Saints in Seattle, snooze fest to me. Way, way too high with the 7.5. You want a little bold prediction right here. I think the Saints might cover. I actually think the Saints might win this game outright. Mark the tape. Go ahead. Cowboys and the Bears. I mentioned the flip flop on the line. Offense is looking good for the Cowboys. A lot of issues with the Bears in that offense. Ben Johnson, as John Bueller said, maybe thinking to himself, what the hell did I get into? Arizona and the 49ers, nice matchup on paper. 49ers at home, 2.5. You got the hook right there. Murray had to walk back some of his comments with the Vic stuff. Harrison Jr. has been very quiet, but he shows you he's a team player. He doesn't care about the stats. And that tells me 2 games, 7 targets. I think Starvin Marvin goes off this week. I can see a 9-10 reception type of game for a $136 and a score. And also, I would play a Kyler Murray rushing touchdown. He's had success against the 49ers throughout his career. He definitely has had success. That was one of my stronger plays on Back Your Play this week. That was one of my stronger plays. I do like the Cardinals in this game. I really do. I like the Cardinals in this game. I think there's going to be some opportunity for them to move the football and score some points. And I think it's going to be one of these high-scoring games. I really do. The Giants and Kansas City, you want a bold prediction? You can throw against Kansas City. Russell Wilson might throw for another 350 and a couple touchdowns. Like, we saw that breakout performance. He might be primed for another one against a defense that's allowing 220, per game this season. So he had 453 touchdowns in the overtime loss. Dallas kind of turned back the clock. Chiefs secondary has been extremely vulnerable all season. They gave up 304 passing yards, 3 touchdowns to Herbert in week 1. You got a quarterback now that's got multiple weapons at his disposal. Robinson, Slayton, Neighbors is a stud. I think he's going to put up some gaudy numbers. If Thomas comes back and they get to Mahomes and you start to frustrate them, Kansas City can't run the football. They can't. They cannot run the football. The Giants' run defense should be the X factor and the difference in this one. I believe they cover. Part of me also can see them winning this game, but rest assured, if they get waxed 35-10 and Russell Wilson goes 18 of 35 for $168 and a couple picks, Jackson Dart is playing, and they might have a new head coach and a new defensive coordinator come week 4. You should be able to throw against Kansas City. Russell Wilson will throw the ball. They need to score touchdowns. You can't exchange 3 and then Kansas City come right down the field for 7. And you catch Kansas City, a tough loss, physical game, offense was slow down against the Eagles, Kelsey with the bad drop, the pick in the red zone. Mahomes doing a lot by himself. Pacheco, this revenge tour, he's done diddly in 2 games. If the Giants can shut down the run and they really get Kansas City in these second and 13, third and 13, third and 16, you're going to see Bowen then be a little more aggressive. He learned his lesson. You can't play these guys off the ball. I don't care who you are. They're going to be able to get to Mahomes. Giants keep the game close. They keep the game close on Sunday night, and they have to. If they don't, you're looking at a head coach, possibly defensive coordinator, and pretty much a Hall of Fame quarterback all getting sacked. All getting sacked in one game after one loss. 6.5, 6.5 home dog. 6.5. And then Monday night, the Lions and the Ravens. Ravens are laying 4.5. By the way, 6 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. And again, this is on cue. Rich Quinones here. If you guys have been tuning in on Channel 82 in Bermuda, get set for their local news at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I believe, their time, but keep it locked in on the YouTube channel as we close things out. So you got the Lions and the Ravens. Baltimore laying 4.5. Both squads come in 1-1, and both of them woke up offensively. The Lions put up 52 against Chicago. Ravens run all over. They ran all over, not literally, against Cleveland. Derrick Henry quiet. Derrick Henry did not have a Derrick Henry type of game. I mean, he was bottled up in that game. He had 23 yards, but you really also didn't need him to carry the football 30, 35 times because they led this 30-10 going into the fourth quarter, and then they pulled away late. Lamar Jackson's going to be able to have some opportunities in this one. I actually like Lamar Jackson. Good prop. Lamar Jackson, rushing touchdown. By the way, 49ers are going to start Mac Jones at quarterback. So that looks like that is official. Jones is going to get the nod. He played well. I do like Baltimore at home. And then all the college football plays, obviously, Costco and I, we gave you them on Wednesday's show. You can check that out on demand. So, as I mentioned, you got some good college football this weekend, a lot of NFL. We will be back in the saddle. I actually might come on sometime tomorrow, later on in the day. There's a couple fights I wanted to preview that are going on in the States, outside the States. And if you didn't catch, also, too, one of the other shows that will be airing on Channel 82 in Bermuda is Tropical Bets Ahora. So we take a look at the gambling aspect, Latin Central, South America, Bermuda, the islands, and we went through a lot of Premier League, gave you 3 to 4 matches there. Also gave you some fights tonight that are airing in Venezuela and also over the weekend. Gave you some good value with some of these picks. So check that out as well. But we're going to try to come back on tomorrow later on a Saturday night before we hit some basketball late night with the time difference. And then depending upon how exhausted we are, maybe a little rapid fire preview to the NFL games on Sunday. If not, we'll be back in the saddle on a Mentiroso Man Up Lunes Manolo Monday edition of On Cue. All right, got to start thanking John Bueller. Also, our sponsors, as always, Get Ready with Tea. Fresh roasted coffee, 20% off your first purchase, BYP20. Check that out in the show notes. And Three Brooks Bourbon, delicious, smooth, with a little kick going down. Jersey Shore Breaks have another tryout tomorrow, 9-1, St. Rose High School. For all you pro ballers out there, you can sign up, registration, go online, Jersey Shore Breaks, TBL.com. I didn't get too many of your picks from you guys today. I was curious again to get some of your picks. I gave you the announcement. The announcement now is on cue, is going to be heard on Channel 82 in Bermuda. So we're not only in the States, but we are going to be on live, local, Channel 82 in Bermuda, as well as the new show, Tropical Bets Auto. And there's a couple more announcements. Back Your Play, Channel 48 in New York. I don't know what more you guys want from me. We're just delivering, right? We're just delivering all over the place, man. Came on a little early for you. Forget about the banker hours on a Friday. I mean, do I tell Lloyd Vance he blew me off? Is Lloyd Vance going to sit there and say, no text from Lloyd, nothing. I don't know what the heck. Blew me off. Yeah, Channel 82 in Bermuda. The lovely people. We got to give them a shout out. We love them over there. They're fantastic. Absolutely. The place is phenomenal. Can't wait to get over there. And they are diehard sports fans. Diehard. They love their football, soccer on the pitch. Diehard sports fans. Uh, where's the guy that marks the tape? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know where de facto is. By the way, that's in the works. Let's broadcast live from Bermuda. We have to. So the good folks, Channel 82, you're not listening right now because you're probably airing the local news, and I understand that. Yes, the Q crew, we're coming out. Maybe we'll get like a cruise sponsored, right? And then a bunch of us will go over there. We'll get set up because they're all high end hotels, right? And then I will broadcast live. I will do that. That is a goal. So again, from the good folks who are tuning in from Channel 82 Bermuda, if you are tuning in, let us know. We will get the passports ready, but be ready. We are coming. We are coming. All right. Got to start wrapping up. As always, don't forget you can capture the shows on demand. Everyone have a good Sports Friday. If you are going out and about tonight, this weekend, be safe, be sound. Don't text, don't drink, don't drive. Well, drive, but don't drink and drive. Don't text as well. And if you're going to be laying any shekels or coin on the games, always do it responsibly as well. College football, big slate tomorrow. NFL, huge slate on Sunday. Postseason baseball right around the corner. We're going to cover the gamut on right here on Q as always. All right. Have a good Sports Friday. We will be back in the saddle tomorrow. Also, maybe Sunday. No banker hours, but definitely on Monday. Until then, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.